Welcome back to our channel. Rare Coins All World. The year 1965 marked a major turning point in the history of U.S. coinage, when the mint officially shifted away from 90% silver coins to copper-nickel clad versions. This transition was not just technical, but historical, as it reshaped the way Americans perceived the value of their money. In the middle of this change, a very small number of quarters from 1965 hold secrets that collectors still chase with intensity today. Most quarters from 1965 were clad in copper and nickel, with no silver content at all, but a handful of them were struck on leftover 90% silver planchets that had been intended for earlier years. These accidental survivors represent a true anomaly, as they should never have been minted in silver, and yet they slipped through the presses undetected. This is what makes the 1965 silver quarters stand apart from the millions of ordinary clad coins. Collectors who understand this unusual error know that the absence of a mintmark on 1965 quarters already gives them a distinctive identity, since all coins of that year were struck without one. But when combined with the rarity of silver composition, this single detail transforms a standard issue into one of the most desirable error coins ever discovered. The coin world thrives on anomalies, and the 1965 silver quarter is the perfect embodiment of that truth. It bridges two eras, the era of silver coinage and the new era of clad coinage, making it historically powerful as well as monetarily valuable. No other year provides quite the same accidental overlap, which is why these coins are so revered. What makes the 1965 silver quarter even more exciting is the fact that most people do not recognize them by sight alone. They can only be verified through weighing and testing, since silver coins are slightly heavier than clad quarters. This subtle difference meant that for decades, collectors overlooked these treasures hidden in plain sight, spending them unknowingly or tucking them into jars without realizing their importance. Stories have surfaced of collectors discovering these coins at random, sometimes in circulation, sometimes in old rolls of quarters, and sometimes even in family collections untouched for years. Each discovery sparks renewed interest, because the number of genuine pieces is so limited that new finds are almost legendary. The historical significance of the 1965 silver quarter lies not only in its accidental creation but also in its survival. In a time when the mint was rushing to eliminate silver from coinage, the fact that any slipped through is a testament to chance and human oversight. This adds a layer of mystique that deepens their allure for historians as much as for numismatists. Every collector knows that rarity and condition dictate value, and the 1965 silver quarter exemplifies this principle. Well-preserved specimens in uncirculated condition have skyrocketed in demand, while even circulated examples command respect. The fusion of historical narrative and tangible rarity gives them a weight beyond their physical silver content. As the years pass, the fame of the 1965 silver quarter continues to grow, with auctions and private sales pushing demand higher each time one appears. It is not merely a coin but a story in metal, telling of an era in transition and the accidents that shape history. Its fame has reached beyond coin circles, capturing the curiosity of the general public as well. The market value of a genuine 1965 silver quarter can climb toward astonishing numbers, with verified examples reaching prices as high as $1 million depending on condition and provenance. This extraordinary figure places it among the elite coins of American history, aligning it with other legendary rarities that have defined the field of numismatics. For coin enthusiasts, owning such a piece is like holding a missing page from history, a fragment of a story that was never meant to exist. It is not just currency, but a relic of chance, a bridge between what was and what was to come. The 1965 silver quarter will always stand as a reminder that mistakes, oversights, and anomalies can sometimes produce treasures of unimaginable worth, ensuring that the hunt for one will remain alive as long as collectors dream of rare discoveries. In 1971, the United States Mint continued producing the Washington quarter, a coin that had already been in circulation for nearly 40 years. Designed by John Flanagan, it carried the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. While most people saw these coins as everyday pocket change, a few extremely rare errors and special pieces would later capture the imagination of collectors across the world. In 1971, quarters were struck at three main facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most coins from that year were minted in huge numbers and circulated widely, but the true fascination lies in the few that bear no mint mark at all, especially those struck in unusual conditions or on experimental planchets. Coins like these are almost impossible to spot in daily life, which makes them so valuable when discovered. In 1971, the majority of Philadelphia issues carried no mint mark, which was typical for that era, but certain varieties stand out due to striking errors or the use of different metal compositions. Collectors search for any coin that deviates from the standard copper-nickel clad format, since these anomalies reveal important chapters of minting history. In 1971, Denver minted quarters with the D mark were common, yet the rarest pieces from this facility may include double die errors or coins struck on silver planchets left over from the late 1960s. The accidental use of older blanks created coins that should not exist, instantly turning them into priceless treasures when identified. In 1971, San Francisco produced quarters mainly for proof sets. These were struck with mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. But even among proofs, unusual varieties and mistakes can occur, such as missing mint marks or improperly prepared dies. For collectors, these rare proof errors hold exceptional importance. In 1971, the combination of high mintage and the U.S. Mint's transition away from silver created the perfect environment for mistakes. The switch to clad coinage in 1965 was still relatively fresh, and experimental striking on leftover silver blanks has been documented. A handful of these transitional errors dated 1971 are known, each considered a crown jewel in American numismatics. In 1971, some coins escaped quality control with remarkable features, like double strikes, clipped planchets, or off-center designs. Such dramatic minting errors are always prized by specialists, especially when they occur on a coin as widely used as the quarter. These blunders remind us of the human and mechanical elements behind the minting process. In 1971, even ordinary quarters can hold hidden surprises. A coin that looks completely normal may in fact be struck with a unique die or unusual alloy, making it worth far more than face value. The stories of lucky finds, where collectors or casual savers stumble upon a fortune in change, continue to inspire treasure hunters today. In 1971, the rarity of these special quarters is measured not only in their numbers but also in the extraordinary sums they have brought at auction. Collectors will pay staggering amounts to secure an example of a transitional error, proof variety, or dramatic minting mistake. Each coin becomes more than money, it transforms into history captured in metal. In 1971, the most valuable quarters have been reported to reach values up to $1 million, depending on their condition, rarity, and the intensity of collector demand. While not every 1971 quarter is extraordinary, the chance that one might be worth such a fortune is what keeps people searching, examining, and dreaming of uncovering the next great numismatic discovery. In 1972, the Denver Mint struck millions of Washington quarters, yet among them, a tiny handful stand out as some of the rarest ever made. Collectors prize these coins not only for their scarcity but also for the hidden stories behind their creation. At first glance, the 1972 mintmark quarter looks just like any other 25-cent piece from circulation, but subtle differences set apart the extraordinary from the ordinary. The Washington quarter design, first introduced in 1932, was meant to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. By 1972, the Denver Mint had already been producing quarters for decades, but errors and unique striking variations during that year created a few examples unlike anything else. These rare survivors became legends within the numismatic community. One reason these quarters hold such intrigue is the mintmark itself, placed just right of Washington's hair ribbon. On certain coins from 1972, the placement, style, or condition of this mintmark differs in ways that specialists can identify instantly. In a hobby where every detail matters, even a small variation in the D can elevate a coin to a world-class rarity. Another feature that makes the 1972 D quarter valuable is the quality of strike. Some examples were struck with unusually sharp detail, showing fine hairlines on Washington's portrait and crisp feathering on the eagle on the reverse. These coins, preserved in pristine condition, became numismatic treasures. High-quality strikes from that year are exceptionally hard to find, collectors also watch closely for errors from 1972, mintmark quarters. Double die obverse examples, repunched mintmarks, and off-center strikes add further mystery. Each mistake made during minting has turned into a valuable prize decades later. Such coins tell the story of human error within a massive production system, and they remain unique artifacts from American history. The journey of these coins through time adds to their allure. Some 1972 quarters spent years in circulation, wearing down with daily use. Others were tucked away unknowingly in rolls or drawers, later discovered by lucky individuals. The contrast between common circulation pieces and rare survivors adds to the excitement of searching for one. Condition, of course, plays a huge role in determining value. A worn 1972 quarter is worth its face value, but an uncirculated example with full luster and sharp details can be worth far more. Coins graded at the top of the scale, known as mint state 67 or higher, are extremely rare. The combination of rarity and high grade is what drives intense competition among collectors. Auction houses and private sales have revealed just how much demand exists for these coins. When a top condition 1972 quarter surfaces, bidders from around the world compete fiercely. Stories of surprise discoveries fuel the dreams of treasure hunters who still check their pocket change, hoping to stumble upon one of these hidden gems. Beyond the value, the 1972 quarter represents a slice of American history. It reflects the artistry of coinage, the unpredictability of minting, and the enduring fascination with small details that turn ordinary objects into extraordinary rarities. Holding such a coin is like holding a piece of the past, preserved in silver-colored metal. In terms of value, the rarest 1972 mintmark quarters in flawless condition have sold for staggering amounts, with the very finest known examples reaching close to $1 million at auction. This extraordinary figure shows just how much a single coin, struck over 50 years ago, can mean to collectors when rarity, history, and condition align perfectly. In 1974, the United States Mint continued the long-running Washington Quarter series, but what sets certain pieces from this year apart is not just age but rarity tied to striking errors and minting variations. While millions of quarters were produced across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, collectors pay special attention to those with unusual characteristics that slipped past quality checks, making them treasures in American numismatics. The absence or presence of a mintmark on specific examples adds even more mystery and value to these coins. In 1974, quarters struck without the D or S mintmark can sometimes signal experimental strikes or proof coins that were never intended to circulate. The mintmark, normally used to identify where the coin was made, plays a huge role in telling the story of how the piece originated. Some errors came from dies that were misprepared or blanks struck under special conditions, leaving behind quarters with characteristics that sharply differ from ordinary circulation strikes. Collectors consider these anomalies golden opportunities to secure coins that truly have no identical twin. In 1974, the Mint was also experimenting with different metals and die designs for future coinage, and occasionally these test pieces ended up being preserved. When a quarter intended as a pattern or trial survives, it carries unmatched historical value because it reveals behind-the-scenes changes at the Mint during a transitional era. A standard coin of this year may only be worth face value, but a rare prototype or mintmark anomaly becomes a direct witness to the evolving practices of American currency production. For that reason, each discovery creates waves in the collecting community. In 1974, collectors must carefully evaluate condition, strike clarity, and provenance when appraising such a coin. The grading system, especially if handled by certified authorities, can make a dramatic difference in the outcome of an auction. Higher grades amplify desirability, but true rarity comes not only from quality but from the existence of unique errors and lost varieties. Stories of these quarters surfacing from ordinary pocket change into world-class collections highlight the unpredictability and thrill of numismatics. In 1974, a rare Washington quarter without mintmark or with error origins has been documented reaching astonishing valuations, in some cases up to $1 million. Its worth is tied not simply to silver or base metal content but to the historical quirks and scarcity that define it. For collectors, it is less about owning a coin and more about holding an irreplaceable fragment of U.S. mint history, the kind of artifact that bridges everyday currency with legendary treasure. In 1984, the Philadelphia Mint struck millions of Washington quarters, but among them a tiny number hold extraordinary stories that elevate them above ordinary pocket change. Collectors often seek out quarters with unusual errors or striking anomalies, and when these combine with the right year, such as 1984, they become legendary. The P mintmark, placed just to the right of Washington's ponytail, is the key identifier that these coins were born in Philadelphia during a decade of massive circulation coinage. In 1984, most quarters were struck in copper-nickel clad, a simple mix designed for durability and daily transactions. Yet, the rarest ones are not about the metal itself, but about the mistakes and oddities that slipped through the presses. A double die obverse, a dramatic misstrike, or a coin struck on the wrong planchet can change a simple 25 cents into a rarity that captures the imagination of numismatists around the globe. In 1984, errors were not as easily detected as today, when advanced machinery and inspection reduce flaws to almost nothing. Back then, if a die was slightly doubled, or if a blank from another denomination found its way onto the press, the mint workers might never notice. These small slips are the reason why certain 1984 quarters with the P mintmark are catalogued as marvels of rarity, instantly recognizable to those who specialize in U.S. coinage. In 1984, collectors who stumbled upon one of these rare quarters may not have realized what they were holding. For the average spender, it was just another piece of change for gas or groceries, but for those who kept an eye out, these coins became cherished keepsakes. The survival of such error coins is always slim, as most were spent, worn down, or lost before the collecting community even discovered them. In 1984, numismatics was already a passionate field, and publications often reported when an unusual discovery surfaced. A 1984 quarter with a spectacular double die or wrong planchet strike became the subject of articles, discussions at coin shows, and whispered conversations among dealers. Each example traced through auctions added to the lore, creating a mystique around the year that still lingers today. In 1984, the role of the Philadelphia Mint in striking billions of coins meant that only a few unusual survivors could exist. Philadelphia was the workhorse of American coinage, feeding the economy with constant output. To find a mistake within that sea of uniformity is like finding a needle in a haystack, and that is exactly what makes a 1984 P mintmark quarter so desirable when an error is confirmed. In 1984, history was also being written through everyday money, and today that history is preserved in the hands of collectors who understand the blend of chance and production that leads to rarity. A quarter may seem insignificant, but the 1984 Philadelphia rarities remind us that coins can become cultural artifacts, valued not only for their face worth, but for their role in the unpredictable story of minting. In 1984, what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is often just one small detail, a doubled letter, an off-center strike, a misplaced planchet, and those details can transform a coin's destiny. For collectors, this transformation is what fuels the excitement, the reason why a simple quarter can be treasured like a gemstone. In 1984, the true value of these rare P mintmark quarters comes into focus when they cross the auction block. Depending on condition, error type, and demand, some examples have been known to command extraordinary figures. Estimates for the most unique pieces can climb steadily, with certain rarities bringing close to $1 million, a staggering price for what began life as just 25 cents. Would you like me to polish this into a slightly more dramatic, storyteller style for YouTube delivery, like a suspenseful narration, or keep it in this straight documentary tone? The 1985 quarter dollar with the Philadelphia mintmark is one of the most fascinating coins in modern U.S. history, not because it was widely circulated, but because of the few rare examples that show unique characteristics. Most quarters from that year were minted in huge numbers for everyday use, yet a small number have become legendary among collectors due to errors, misstrikes, and hidden details that slipped through the presses. These rare survivors stand apart from ordinary coins and have created stories of unexpected fortune for those who discovered them. When speaking about the Philadelphia Mint in 1985, it is important to remember that the P mintmark had only recently become standard on coins. For collectors, this was a transitional time in minting history, and any anomalies connected to that mint mark carried special weight. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of coins that year, but the tiniest deviation in die alignment, metal composition, or strike detail could transform an everyday quarter into an object of extreme rarity. Some of the rarest 1985 quarters are tied to double die obverse errors, where the inscriptions such as "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" appear doubled under magnification. These errors were not intentional, but rather the result of die preparation issues at the mint. Collectors prize such coins because they provide a visible, almost dramatic fingerprint of the minting process gone awry. Only a handful are known, and when they surface, they attract extraordinary attention. Another variety that raises the value of the 1985 quarter is off-center striking. This occurs when the blank planchet is not perfectly seated in the coining press, leading to coins with portions of the design missing or shifted dramatically. The more severe the misalignment while still leaving identifiable details, the more desirable the coin becomes. A flawless off-center strike can turn a coin once spent at a grocery store into a museum-worthy rarity. Equally significant are 1985 quarters that were accidentally struck on the wrong planchet. For example, some quarters may have been struck on nickel or dime-sized blanks, producing coins with unusual weight and diameter. These error coins were never intended for release, but a few escaped quality control and entered circulation. They are considered some of the crown jewels of mint errors because of their scarcity and the unusual look they present. Collectors also search for high-grade examples of the 1985 Philadelphia quarter in pristine condition. While not an error, coins graded at the highest levels by professional services can bring impressive sums. This is because most circulated heavily, making gem-quality survivors nearly impossible to find. For a coin collector, condition can be just as powerful a driver of rarity and value as an actual minting error. The story of the 1985 quarter dollar reminds us how something so ordinary can hold extraordinary history within it. Each coin tells a tale of American minting in a particular year, and for the rarest survivors, those tales end up commanding both fascination and fortune. The Philadelphia mintmark connects these coins to an era of change, but it is their unexpected flaws and preserved beauty that elevate them to the realm of legends. The value of a rare 1985 quarter with unique errors or perfect preservation can be staggering. While most examples are worth only face value, the rarest varieties have sold for sums reaching into the hundreds of thousands, with certain once-in-a-lifetime discoveries appraised at up to $1 million. This astonishing worth transforms what was meant to be pocket change into a symbol of rarity, luck, and the powerful intersection of history and collecting. In 1995, the United States Mint continued its long tradition of producing circulating coinage, and among those coins was the Washington quarter bearing the D mintmark, struck in Denver. While most of these coins were struck in the tens of millions, a small number possess unique characteristics that set them apart, making them incredibly valuable in the eyes of collectors. The Denver Mint's output that year is often overlooked, yet within those coins lies a piece of numismatic history. In 1995, the Washington quarter was still part of the pre-statehood era design, featuring George Washington's profile on the obverse and the familiar heraldic eagle on the reverse. Collectors today often focus on these transitional years, as they preceded the launch of the state quarters program in 1999. A rare Denver-minted 1995 quarter carries both historical context and the potential for extreme value due to its condition and striking anomalies. In 1995, production quality at the Denver Mint was generally high, but even so, certain error coins escaped quality control. These rare errors, such as double die strikes, misaligned dies, and off-center strikes, have elevated some examples far above ordinary market levels. A flawless strike with no visible blemishes, classified as a high-grade mint state specimen, can attract immense attention. In 1995, Denver minted quarters were widely circulated, which makes finding pristine examples in untouched condition all the more difficult. The rarity of such coins grows with each passing year, as most quarters from that time have endured heavy wear and tear. Survival of high-grade pieces is an important reason collectors will bid heavily at auctions. In 1995, certain proof-like qualities were also reported in circulation strikes, leading experts to re-examine the minting process of that year. Any coin that combines proof-like luster with a perfectly centered and sharp strike immediately becomes a standout among standard business strikes. These exceptional survivors form the backbone of the coin's desirability. In 1995, the numismatic community began documenting particular anomalies in die usage at the Denver Mint, where worn dies produced unusual features. Some examples revealed doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust," or unusual clarity differences between devices and fields. Such traits magnify the value of the coin when authenticated by grading services. In 1995, rarity was not recognized instantly, but decades later, auction houses and private sales brought these quarters into the spotlight. As collectors became more informed, the hunt for a Denver minted rarity intensified. This heightened demand further pushed prices upward, especially for certified high-grade examples. In 1995, the Denver quarter, while seemingly ordinary to the public, began acquiring legendary status among seasoned numismatists. Stories of rare discoveries in old rolls, bank boxes, and inherited collections have only added to the allure. These tales inspire new collectors to search for the elusive coin that could be worth far more than its face value. In 1995, preservation plays a major role in determining value, as a coin's grade can mean the difference between a modest find and an extraordinary treasure. A circulated example may trade for a few dollars, but one preserved in pristine mint state, or with a dramatic mint error, transforms into an elite collectible. The market for such coins has seen intense competition at major auctions. In 1995, the Denver quarter in its rarest forms has been known to reach extraordinary sums, with documented value soaring up to $1 million. This level of worth stems from the combination of scarcity, condition, and collector demand. A flawless piece with error traits authenticated by a reputable grading service can achieve this peak valuation. In 1995, the fascination with the Denver minted quarter illustrates how a simple circulating coin can evolve into a prized artifact of American history. Beyond its face value, it represents craftsmanship, rarity, and the pursuit of perfection. For collectors, the search for such a treasure remains one of the most exciting chapters in U.S. numismatics. In 1995, what was once everyday pocket change has become an enduring symbol of hidden wealth, patience, and discovery. The rare Denver quarter proves that sometimes extraordinary value can be found in the most ordinary places, waiting only for the right eyes to see it. In 1996, the Denver Mint struck millions of quarter dollars, yet among them exists a version so unusual and mysterious that it has captured the fascination of collectors for decades. While most people view the 1996 mintmark quarter as ordinary change, a rare variety with unique striking characteristics and hidden errors has elevated its status far beyond simple currency. These few surviving pieces are not just money, they are artifacts of minting history. The Denver Mint itself holds an important role in American coinage, producing countless coins that circulate through everyday life. But in 1996, a small number of quarters emerged with unusual qualities. Whether through double die striking, off-center minting, or a rare transitional planchet mix-up, these errors transformed certain 1996 quarters into legendary finds. Collectors hunt these with unmatched determination, knowing their rarity could rival any classic coin. These rare survivors have become symbols of the unpredictable nature of minting. Every coin tells a story of its creation, and the 1996 quarter's story is one of accident, oversight, and discovery. For some, owning one is not about spending value, but about holding a fragment of history. The fascination lies not in mass production, but in the rare deviation from perfection that turned a routine strike into a numismatic marvel. Auction records over the years have shown the incredible rise in interest. Ordinary 1996 quarters are worth face value, but when a rare error surfaces, the competition among bidders grows fierce. Collectors from around the globe converge, willing to pay astronomical prices for the chance to own such a piece. With each appearance, the reputation of the 1996 error quarter grows even stronger. Some examples display sharp doubling on inscriptions, others carry minting mistakes never intended for circulation. These variations make classification challenging, and that uncertainty only heightens the excitement for coin experts. To find one in high grade, uncirculated condition is exceedingly rare, and these represent the very pinnacle of what the Denver Mint accidentally released in 1996. For the collector fortunate enough to uncover one of these treasures, the reward is beyond imagination. Depending on condition, variety, and provenance, a rare 1996 mintmark quarter can command astonishing sums. In today's market, its value can soar to extraordinary levels, in some cases reaching up to $1 million, making it not just a piece of money, but one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered.